Welcome back to the Postpartum Plan podcast. This podcast is designed to support and empower you through postpartum. Whether you're expecting, in the early postpartum days, or beyond, this space is for you. I'm your host, Madison Fugere, a dedicated postpartum doula and pediatric sleep consultant, striving to help parents feel confident and supported in their parenting journey. Each week, I'm sharing practical tips and expert advice to help you navigate all the postpartum things with confidence. Well, as much confidence as you can. Let's embark on this journey together, making your parenthood as serene and supportive as possible. Welcome back to the podcast, y'all. I am here solo today to talk all about an overnight shift as a postpartum doula. If you follow me on Instagram, you know that yesterday, which is today, because I'm recording, which is Friday, July 12th, I'm doing a day in the life on the story, on my Instagram story. And today I'm doing a lot of work that's not specifically doula and sleep related, but I know that you guys really, really love seeing my days in the life. And so I'd kind of gone back and forth for a little while deciding if I was going to put up a day in the life podcast episode, right? And I was like, I don't know. These people aren't probably interested in what my life is like, right? Like you guys are here more for like tips, tricks, information. So I decided to kind of make a combination of both. So rather than a full-blown like day in the life, you guys are getting the insider scoop on an overnight doula shift. So I'm going to basically walk you through like what an overnight shift looks like. I had one the other day, and I'm literally going to tell you all about it because it was the first overnight shift I had with this family. I'm going to tell you a little bit about all the things that went along with that overnight shift. And I'm even going to right now pull up. All right, let's find it. I'm going to pull up the information that I sent the family at the end of the night to give you real and raw numbers. So, like I said, or like you guys know, I should say, I am a pediatric sleep consultant as well as a certified postpartum doula. And so I support families for daytimes and overnights, but a lot of the focus that I do when I'm working with families postpartum is preparing them to have good, healthy sleep habits. And so I'm really excited to kind of share here what I do in a night shift, so that you can kind of take some of this, leave what you don't like, take what you do like, adapt it to your own family, or so that you can get questions answered if you're interested in hiring some postpartum help and you don't really understand what the purpose of an overnight is, or how that can be helpful. So here we go. So I'm going to walk you guys through what this overnight shift was last week that I had with a brand new family. Baby was, oh goodness, how old was he at the time? He was just a couple days old. Let me double check here. He was it is all over the place. So 7, 8, 9. He was 9 days old. Okay, perfect. There we go. So he was 9 days old. This was my first shift with this family. When I arrived, I was doing a 10 to 6 shift. So when I arrived at 10, we got to chat. The baby was asleep. So we talked about like her birth, how it went, what they've been struggling with. They've also got a toddler. So we talked about, any struggles they've been having with the toddler sleep. And we really kind of just talked for a while. And then they showed me around. They showed me where the baby was in the room that I'd be staying in. They showed me where their room was. We figured out a way and to move all of the things that they were cleaning, and all the bottles that they were cleaning and such were in the master bathroom. So they didn't have to leave their bedroom in the middle of the night. So we moved some of that into the room where I would be and into the kitchen so that I could get everything clean and sanitized. And then we kind of made a game plan. So typically when you go into a postpartum shift, I am talking to the families about what their goals are. So in this situation, the dad really just wanted to get a full night's sleep so that he could support the toddler and the baby and mom in the morning. This was going to be their first day without family around during the day. So he wanted to make sure he was fully rested to help tackle all of that. And mom was pumping and nursing, but if she was nursing, she was offering a bottle afterwards as well. So we kind of decided to let me give him two bottles. She was going to pump, and then that last feed at about 6 a.m., then I'd bring him in and he would nurse. And so that was the best plan for them because she could get up, pump, and kind of like sleep while sitting up, right? Some families do choose to have me bring baby in for every single time and nurse the whole time. This mama was pumping to increase her milk supply, so it worked out well to do it that way. Um, yes. So once we made that game plan, we kind of divide and conquer. Dad was cleaning up some stuff from dinner. Mom was getting ready for bed. And I was also helping out clean up from dinner. So I was able to help clean some dishes. I was cleaning and sanitizing all the pump and bottle parts. Um, and then also looking out for baby boy in case he decided to wake up. Now, like I said, he's 10 days old. He's really little. He was being woken every 3 hours still to feed. So we knew we had to wake him up by at least midnight at the latest. So I finished cleaning everything up and I sat down for a few minutes after I finished that. And then I quickly woke him up. So we decided to wake him up closer to 11:45 because he had eaten at about 8:30, but it took him a little while to eat. So I woke him up at about 11:40 and I changed his diaper. He did have a circumcision, but it was a couple days, more than a few days in advance. And so I was able to change his diaper as a doula, as a we're not medical professionals. Let me rephrase that. I didn't say that. I like stumbled on my words. As a doula, I'm not a medical professional. There we go. And so I'm not able to change any type of dressing. So for families that do go forward with circumcision, when I am supporting them at night, if they've just had the circumcision and they need the dressing changed, I'm not able to do that. But in this case, he was doing great. So I changed his diaper. He had a little wet diaper, and then that keeps him woken up enough to be ready to eat. So we got that bottle ready. She got to have all pumped breast milk the whole time, which was really exciting. So Mama was creating enough milk, which was huge. And so at that time, we had offered him 60 mLs because they said he was taking about 30 and a breast. So we decided to do 60. They asked me to, and he ended up taking only 45. At the end, midway, I burped him. He did take a little more after that. I did at that point swaddle him, and he did not want any more. He kept closing his mouth. He wasn't letting me bring the bottle near him, and he was starting to doze off. So I took that for what it was. We don't want to force feed a baby. Made sure he was swaddled nice and tight. And then I laid him down, and that was at about 12:10. So that whole process took about 30 minutes. Because he's still so little, he thinks he's in utero. He knocks back out. He didn't need much soothing whatsoever. I just kind of popped him in the bassinet next to my bed and let him do his thing. I went and washed the bottle. I then got a text from mom that she had pumped. So I grabbed her stuff and I prepared the bottle for next time. And because breast milk can sit out at room temperature for 4 hours, my favorite hack is to create the bottle for the next feed and just leave it on the nightstand. The rest, if there's extra, will get stored in the fridge. But by leaving it on the nightstand, it stays at room temp. So there's no need to warm a bottle. And we know he's going to wake up within less than 3 hours to feed, anyways. So I did portion out his next bottle, left that on the nightstand, cleaned the bottle he drank from, cleaned the pump parts, sanitized them all, brought them back to mom, and put them in her bathroom so that she had them for her next pump. And then because everything else was done, rested my eyes as well. So during an overnight postpartum shift, most doulas will sleep when the baby sleeps, given that everything else is taken care of and that they can wake up very quickly in case anything is needed. So if you've ever had a baby in the room, you know exactly what that means, right? Like you're half asleep, you're not really in deep sleep because you're listening out for the baby. If you've never slept in a room with a baby, and you are expecting and you want to know what it's like, the best way I compare it to is that night sleep before an early morning airplane flight when you're like waiting for your alarm to go off and you keep waking up being like, oh my gosh, I'm gonna miss it. Oh no, like I thought I heard something. You startle awake so easily and then you feel exhausted the next morning because you really never slept. That's kind of like what it's like sleeping in a room with a baby because you know that they're gonna wake up at any moment. Um, so yeah, so I got to rest as well, and I had set an alarm for his next feed. So I woke him up at 2:40 and I was then able to change his diaper. Again, he was just a little wet, and then we prepped that bottle for at 2:45 he ate. Again, some babies during this time frame of that like sleeping time frame they are, waking up, needing help soothing and whatnot. This little guy, he grunted a couple times, but he was just basically talking in his sleep. He was in that light, active sleep, and he didn't need any support. When they're this little, a lot of the times they do still feel like they're in utero, so they don't realize, and they just kind of are snoozing. So at 2:40, I got him up, and I offered him 50 mLs this time. Mom hadn't pumped quite as much, and because he only took 45 the first time, we figured that was a good number to start with. He did end up taking the whole thing, and he seemed content afterwards. He wasn't brooding for any more, so I just kind of left that be. If he needed more, I was going to grab some more. But like I said, I didn't want to overfeed him, and he also seemed content. So after that 50 that he took, I swaddled him up and laid him down, and he knocked right back out. So he was asleep at this time. By 3:02 is when I laid him back down. And so that was like 20, what is that, 22 minutes? Something like that. Um, yeah, 22 minutes. So at that point, I again washed everything, got everything set up, dried everything off. Again, mom had pumped, so I took her things and I cleaned and sanitized them. Everything was all set for that. I then laid down again, so kind of a repeat button there. And then it was going to be waking him up at 5:40 to get a diaper change. And at about 5:30, I heard him grunting. So I had woken up and I looked over and he had escaped his swaddle. Not only has he escaped his swaddle, but at 5:35, when I picked him up, I had realized that he also had peed through his diaper, and his outfit onto the inside of the swaddle. So I unwrapped him, got him all cleaned up, and I was able to get him a fresh diaper, take his clothes off. And I didn't have an extra outfit, so I brought him in a little naked in a little blanket to nurse with mom because he was going to be going in there at about 5:45 to feed anyways. So I brought him in there to her and got them all settled, saw if she needed anything, water, snack, anything like that. She felt good. So we chatted for just a few minutes, really quietly because dad was still sleeping, about how the night went. I told her I would send some notes over, and that was about that. So when this client gets the notes, they get basically a breakdown of the bullets of how the night went. And then they also get notes. So, for example, here on these notes for this first night with the family, I wrote about the swaddles because they had mentioned that baby kept escaping from the swaddles. So they were having to double swaddle, which is great. So I mentioned to them that they could use a happiest baby swaddle if he's a real escape artist. Those are great. And I also mentioned trying a stretchy swaddle blanket because they said the hospital swaddle blankets were working better than like the muslin ones for them, because they weren't able to get it as tight. So I mentioned a stretchy blanket to them, as I find that those can sometimes get really tight as well and are a bit easier to work with. I told them that I sent them a link to one that I love so they can try. I said that he didn't fight the swaddles too much for me. So he didn't need a double swaddle, which was really great. I also mentioned some things about latching. I mentioned that he wasn't opening his mouth as much when he was latching onto the bottle because it was a very shallow latch. They were using a wide neck Dr. Brown's bottle. And so I mentioned a couple other bottle brands that I do like, in order to help him get a deeper latch so that even on the bottle and then also on the breast, he's not hurting anybody when he's on the breast, as well as getting a deep enough latch that he's effectively feeding and not, suckling a ton and only getting a few drops of milk. We want him really moving that jaw. So I sent some information on that. I also mentioned that I had some IBCLCs I could send to them if they were interested, in some more information. And then the last thing I sent was about paste bottle feeding. I told them that one of the documents that I had given them, talks about paste bottle feeding. I explained what it was a little bit in case they didn't want to go find that folder. And then I also talked to them about how we talk about flow preference now instead of bottle confusion and nipple confusion. So that was kind of that. I sent that along. At that point, mom disarmed our alarm and I was able to let myself out. I had moved everything into her bathroom for cleanings. Everything that we had moved out, I moved back in. So it was all back in its place. And I let myself out at about 6 a.m. And that was my 10 to 6. And that's not to say that every shift is this easy. There are many, many shifts that babies are a lot more active and they're up every hour and a half. They need to be soothed. I'm holding them, I'm rocking them. But this little guy was still really feeling like he was in utero. And so he was snoozing up a storm. But yeah, so that is what some of an overnight postpartum doula shift can look like. I hope this was interesting to you guys. If it was, please let me know because I'll do one for daytime or I can do another overnight, just to give you a scoop into like what it's really like to have a postpartum doula in your house, or if you are a postpartum doula and you're interested in offering overnights or daytime shifts, you can kind of see what somebody does. So that is the insight for today. I hope you all have a great day. Let me know how you like the episode, and I will talk to you soon. Bye. Thank you so much for tuning into the Postpartum Plan podcast. I hope that today's episode brought you support, relatability, and valuable insight. Remember, you're not alone on this journey. If you enjoyed the show, please subscribe and leave a review and share with any of your prenatal and postpartum friends and family. Your feedback helps us reach more parents seeking support. And if you're looking for additional resources, please feel free to connect via Instagram at Serene Moments Doula for constant information, tips, and tricks, or check out my website, www.serenemomentsdoula.com. See you next week.